Megamorphs number 1, The Andalite's Gift by K.A. Applegate. Chapter 1, Jake. My name is Jake. Just Jake. No last name. Or at least no last name I can tell you. I'm an Animorph. I guess that makes me one of the most hunted, endangered species on Earth. The Yeerks want me dead. They want my friends dead. So if they knew who I was and how to find me, I wouldn't have a chance. That's why I won't tell you my last name. And I won't tell you what city or state I live in. Because I want to go on living. I want to go on living so I can go on fighting them. Are you one of those people who looks up this night sky and wonders whether there's life out there among the stars? Do you wonder about UFOs? Do you wonder whether aliens will ever come to Earth? Well, stop wondering. The Yeerks are here. They're a species of parasites. Just little slugs, really. Little slugs that crawl inside your head and wrap themselves around your brain and make you do whatever they want you to do. When that happens, you stop being a true human being. You become a controller. That's what we call a human who is under the control of a Yeerk. When you talk to a controller, you may be looking at a human face. You may hear a human voice. But what you're really talking to is a Yeerk. And they are everywhere. If you think you haven't seen one, you're wrong. The policeman in his patrol car, the clerk at the grocery store, your teacher, your pastor, your doctor, any of them might be a controller. Your mother, father, sister, or best friend, they could all be controllers. I know. My brother Tom is one of them. They have taken my brother from me and made him an enemy. I sit at the breakfast table every morning and make small talk, knowing all the while that Tom is not Tom anymore. And they have taken my best friend's mother. Everyone thinks Marco's mother is dead. Only he and I know the truth. She too is one of them. They're everywhere. They can be anyone. They can tear lives apart. They do unspeakable things, and we stand against them alone. Only we know the threat. We 6, 5 Animorphs and 1 Andalite. 5 human kids with the power to become any animal we can touch. And a kid from another planet who looks like some weird mix of a deer, human, and a scorpion. The 6 of us against all the might of the Yeerks and all the evil genius of their leader, Visser 3. Which is why Rachel was worried about leaving, even for a weekend. We were all together that Friday evening. Marco, Cassie, Tobias, Rachel, and me. Axe wasn't there because he would have had to change into his human morph. He doesn't like to become human. I think he feels naked without his deadly tail. So it was just the 5 of us in Cassie's barn, surrounded by all the chattering, snuffling, chirping, preening, and smelly animals in their cages. The barn is also the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Cassie's parents are veterinarians. They use their barn to take in sick or injured wild animals. It's just this stupid 2-day gymnastics camp I signed up for a long time ago, Rachel was saying. It's no big deal. It's something I was going to do back, before. Rachel, you should go, Cassie said. Our entire lives cannot be about fighting the Yeerks. We have to try to be semi-normal. I mean, it can't all be danger and battle and fear, right? So go. But for now, help me lift up this crow's cage. He's going up on that shelf. Cassie was trying to get us to help clean up the barn. We used the barn to get together. It was one of the few places we can meet with Tobias. See, he can't exactly go to the mall. Crows, Tobias said in thought speak that we heard only in our heads. I can't believe you're saving a crow. I hate crows. You know how you probably got that broken wing? Trying to mob a respectable hawk. That's how. Crows are total punks. Tobias was perched high in the rafters of the barn. From up there, he could fly in and out through the hayloft. Tobias is a red-tailed hawk. Actually, in his mind and his soul, he's human, but the power to morph has a terrifying downside. Stay in morph for more than 2 hours, and you stay forever. Tobias was trapped forever with long, powerful wings, ripping taloned feet, and fierce, angry eyes that stared at you around his hooked beak. You would never guess that he had once been such a gentle guy. I guess he still is that guy. But he's also a hawk. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Crow, Tobias said in mock threat. Obviously, the crow did not understand thought speak. Cassie smiled. Tobias, I promise when we release this guy, we'll take him far from your territory. I already told Melissa Chapman I wasn't going, Rachel said, going back to her own topic. We went up to the camp this afternoon, right after school. Marco, who had been lying back on a bale of hay and staring at the ceiling, sat up. Rachel doesn't think we can survive without her for 2 days. After all, she's the mighty Xena warrior princess. It was Marco's teasing name for Rachel. Rachel had a tendency to be very bold. Anytime there's something borderline insane that needs to be done, Rachel was always the first to volunteer. Marco, you have hay stuck in your hair, Rachel said. He ignored her remark. Rachel thinks if she's not here and we have trouble, we'll all just run screaming and yammering like a bunch of scared little kids. He put on a phony, serious expression. All I want to know is this. Why don't you dress like Xena? I mean, the whole leather and sword thing would really work for you. Okay, shut up. I'll go, Rachel said. I'll go. I'm going. Just to get away from Marco for a couple of days. I'll catch the bus tomorrow morning. Think of me when you're on that uneven parallel bars, Marco said. But it wasn't to Marco that Rachel looked. It was to Tobias. You guys will stay out of trouble when I'm gone, won't you? We'll be fine, Rachel, Tobias said. I saw Cassie smile, and my gaze met hers. She gave a slight nod. Cassie has a theory that Rachel and Tobias like each other. Not that Rachel has ever said anything, even though Rachel and Cassie are best friends. Cassie thinks it's sweet and romantic. I just think it's kind of sad. I mean, as far as we know, Tobias will never be fully human again. We should all just try to enjoy a nice, normal weekend, I said. Have normal fun. We've had plenty of danger and excitement. Marco sent me a sly, resentful look. Some of us are going to have more fun than some others. Some of us are going to pool parties that some of us were not invited to. He shook his fist melodramatically at the ceiling. Why? Why? What does that girl have against me? I rolled my eyes. Here we go again. Cassie rescued me. I need someone strong to come outside with me. Help me carry in some new cages from the truck. Marco? Ugh, my back, Marco cried. A sudden, shooting pain. I'm coming, Cassie, I said. I gave Marco a shove, pushing him back onto his bale of hay. You were so pathetic. Don't strain yourself, Marco said with a cocky grin. Outside, out of the golden glow of the barn's lights, it was getting dark. A full moon had risen, but you could just see the first stars off to the east. The pickup truck was piled precariously high with wire cages. I climbed up and began to untie the rope that held them in place. It seems strange, Rachel going away, even for a couple of days, Cassie said. And it seems even stranger that it would seem strange. I mean, it should be no big deal. Well, I guess when life turns completely crazy, it's the normal things that start to seem strange. Cassie nodded slowly. For a while, she said nothing. She just stood there with her arms crossed, looking up at the moon. I climbed down off the truck. What's bothering you? She shrugged. Nothing, just a feeling. I don't know, bad dreams, I guess. I have those too, I said. We all do. You can't live through all this and not have it bother you. What's the dream about? The ant thing? We'd morphed ants once. We'd gone down into an ant tunnel and had been attacked by a colony of enemy ants. No one wanted to go through that again. Ever again. Not ever. No, not the ants, Cassie said. At least not directly. It's dumb. There's something... I don't even know what it is. But it's not a good thing, and it asked me to make a choice. In the dream, I have to decide who lives and who dies. I moved closer to Cassie and put my arm around her shoulder. There were goosebumps on her bare arms. I never used to be afraid, Jake, Cassie said. Not of anything. And now it's like I'm afraid all the time. You deal with it, though, I said. It made me nervous talking about feelings like this. I think if you just don't talk about the fear, it'll go away. You always deal with it, I repeated. So far, Cassie said softly. So far. Chapter 2. Rachel. My name is Rachel. I live with my mom and my 2 little sisters. We live pretty close to Jake, who lives pretty close to Marco. Cassie is the farthest one out because she lives on a farm. I guess we're a pretty average bunch of kids. I mean, we were a pretty average bunch. Marco lives with his dad. I live with my mom. Jake and Cassie each have both parents around. We go to school. We do homework. We hang out at the mall. We listen to music. Go to movies on the weekend. Normal. Boringly average. Until one night, we happened to hook up together at the mall and decided to take a shortcut through the abandoned construction site off the highway. We weren't a group back then. Jake was my cousin, but we didn't really see each other, except at school. Cassie was my best friend and had been for a long time. But Marco was just Jake's friend, not mine. And Tobias was this guy Jake felt sorry for because he came from such a messed up home and got picked on by bullies. That's Jake. When he sees some guy getting his head stuffed in a toilet at school, he is absolutely going to stop it. Jake isn't some big tough guy or anything. It's just that when he tells you in that calm, reasonable voice of his to stop picking on someone, you stop. You just do. Jake is sort of the one in charge. It's not something he ever wanted. It just seems natural for him to take over. Not that Jake is without his own level of stupidity. I mean, he was right there with us, walking through an isolated, abandoned construction site that night. It wasn't the smartest thing we ever did. But the way it turned out, the real danger that night was not from some mad slasher. The real danger was from a totally unexpected direction. See, that's where the damaged Andalite spaceship landed. Right there in the construction site. That's where we saw our first alien. That's where we learned about the Yeerk threat. And that's where the Andalite Prince Alfangor gave us the power to morph. It's where Alfangor died, too. We watched it happen. We watched that brave, decent, kind creature be murdered by Visser 3. Murdered for trying to protect the people of Earth. Anyway, that's when we became a group. It was Marco who came up with the name for what we were. Animorphs. Persons who can morph animals. The Andalite left us the burden of fighting the Yeerks and gave us that one weapon. The power to morph. Like all weapons, it has dangers even to those of us who use it for a good cause. Just ask Tobias. But it was an awesome power. We had done some damage to the Yeerks. And to be honest with you, sometimes the morphing power is just plain fun. Right now, though, my normal life was calling. It was already getting warm by the time I walked over to school the next morning. The bus to the camp was due to come at 11. I got to school an hour early. I stopped on the sidewalk in front of the school and checked my watch. The sun was climbing fast, and you could tell it was going to be a really hot day. I smiled. It would be a good day for flying. I crossed the athletic field and headed for the woods behind the school. I wanted to check in with Tobias before I left. It's no big thing. It's just that I kind of take care of stuff Tobias needs. I bring him books sometimes, you know. Things he can't get into the woods. But Tobias isn't always an easy guy to find, especially in the morning, when he's likely to be out hunting his breakfast. I knew I would need great eyes and speed to find him and still get back in time to catch the bus. It's funny how it never even occurred to me that I was in a very dangerous position. See, my mom and my friends all thought I was heading to camp. They wouldn't expect to see me for a couple of days. But the camp people didn't think I was coming, so they wouldn't expect me either. But none of this occurred to me. After all, what did I have to worry about? Little did I know. So I entered the woods, put my outer clothing in the bag, hid it beneath some low-lying bushes, and took a quick look around to make sure I was alone. And then I began to morph. I focused my mind on one of the many animals whose DNA is a part of me. Every morphing is unique. The changes never happen the same way twice. This time, the first thing to change was my mouth. My lips grew hard and stiff. And when I rolled my eyes downward, I could see my mouth become bright yellow and bulge outwards. As that happened, I began to shrink. The pine needles covered the ground, came up toward me, and I lost a foot of height within a few seconds. Then another foot. The strangest thing, though, was my skin. The flesh of my bare arms began to melt like candle wax. It melted and ran together. It formed intricate patterns like a tattoo of feathers. Suddenly, the painted feather patterns were no longer just designs. Actual feathers began to emerge. The feathers were dark brown, except for the ones that replaced my blonde hair and the skin in my face and neck. Those feathers were all snowy white. By the time the morph was nearly complete, I only stood about 2 feet tall. My feet had split open and formed yellow talons, each of which ended in a wicked hooked claw. My arms rose up, horizontal. Long feathers sprouted from them, even as my solid, heavy, human bones became hollow and light. It took just a few minutes for the transformation to be done. I was no longer human. I was a bald eagle. I turned to face the breeze and opened my wings. They stretched 6 feet from tip to tip. I felt the wind pressed against my feathers, stretching my muscles. I flapped several times with great power, and then I was airborne. I drew the talons up snug against my body. I flapped and rose. I flapped more and soared above the trees. The top branches reached for me, but missed. I flapped still more and caught a good and strong headwind. It was like an invisible wedge that forced me up and up. Up and up. I rose till I was several hundred feet above the treetops. I could see the school down below. I could see the bus parked in the empty lot. And, being an eagle, I could see a great deal more. Looking through the eyes of an eagle is like having built-in binoculars. From hundreds of feet in the air, I could see field mice just poking their noses out of their holes. I could see ants crawling up the trunks of trees. I could look down through the water of a stream and see tiny fish feeding there. I could see everything, like no human will ever see. I turned toward the deeper woods where Tobias lived. Maybe there's something better than flying free, high above the trees, riding the wind, but I doubt it. It was freedom beyond any dream of freedom. I loved it. For all the pain that had come with the war with the Yeerks, I swear sometimes just being able to fly makes it all worthwhile. I was close to Tobias's territory when I spotted something interesting below me. It was a deer-like animal, running swiftly through the trees. When I focused my laser intensity eagle sight, I could see the semi-human torso and face and the deadly scorpion tail. Axe! Or Eximili Escaruth Isthal, to use his complete name. Axe is an Andalite, the only Andalite to survive a terrible space battle with the Yeerks. Prince Alfangor was his brother. It was kind of fun watching him run. I never seen anything that look as delicate and cute one minute and as dangerous the next as an Andalite. I decided to swoop down over Axe and say hi. I spilled a little air from my wings and dropped, thrilled by the feeling of a controlled fall from hundreds of feet up. It's like jumping off of a skyscraper, knowing you can survive. I dropped toward the trees. I actually had time to notice the nest in a high branch, just out of the corner of my eye. I had time to think, isn't that cute, baby birds? And then they hit me. Swoop. Swoop. Faster than me, more agile. Small dark birds zipped straight at me like they were going to hit. Too many of them. Swoop. Swoop. I turned a hard left. In a flash, I knew what was happening. They thought I was attacking their nest. They were mobbing me, trying to drive me off. I banked a hard turn, too fast. I was still going fast from the dive. Too fast. Bank left. Turn. Wham! I barely saw the tree trunk before I hit, head first. Down I fell, down through the branches that tore at me, banged me, slapped me, ripped at my feathers. I hit the ground hard. I was hurt. I knew I was hurt. Fading out. My mind was swimming. Human thoughts. Eagle instinct. All swirling, shifting. I was falling down. Down a dark well. Down. Morph out, I told myself. Rachel, morph out. And then I was gone. Chapter 3. Marco. Look, it's simple, I explained patiently. There's this party. This pool party. And I was not invited. Not only was I not invited, but the girl who's having the party went out of her way to not invite me. By the way, hi, my name is Marco. I'm an Animorph too. I'm the smart, cute one. No, seriously. Jake is the bossy one, Cassie's the nice one, Rachel is the stupidly brave one, and Tobias is a bird. I am the cute one. All the girls think so. All except Darlene. So you are not wanted at this party, but you want to go anyway. That was Axe speaking. Well, not exactly speaking. He's an Andalite. And Andalites don't have mouths. They do thought speak. It's like telepathy. We can all do it when we're in Morph, but for Andalites, it's their normal language. Axe's real name is Aximili Escaruth Istil. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Now you know why we just call him Axe. That's right, I explained to him. I mean, Jake and Cassie were both invited. Rachel was invited, but she's going to that stupid gymnastics thing. Basically, everyone at school was invited. All I'm saying is, there must be a reason why I was not invited. I think I know what that reason is. Darlene likes me. There's no other possible explanation. Axe looked puzzled. Is that common among humans? Do you avoid the ones you like? Not like. Like. I like you, Axe, but I don't like you. There's like, and then there's like. Axe stared at me with his main eyes. He has 4 eyes altogether. 2 of them are fairly normal. The other 2 are on these stalk-like things that stick out of the top of his head, like those little horns the giraffe has. On the end of each stalk, he has an eye, which he can point in any direction. Very weird. But you can't sneak up on the guy, that's for sure. I am confused, Axe said. It's okay, you don't need to understand. I just want you to go with me. To the party. That's right. We have to go to the party to see what Darlene says about me. She and her cheerleader friends are probably going to talk about me. I want to hear what they say. And you want me to go with you? Yeah, you and me. I need someone to watch my back. But Prince Jake will be at the party, won't he? I rolled my eyes. Axe is convinced Jake is his prince. I guess Andalites are into the whole royalty thing. Yeah, Jake will be there. But Jake is not going to help me spy on Darlene, is he? Neither will Cassie. Cassie doesn't exactly fit in with the cheerleader crowd. They talk about clothes and guys. Cassie talks about animals and saving the world or whatever. Pardon me if I sound skeptical, and please don't be offended, Axe said. But I sense that maybe this is a dishonorable idea. You sense right, Axe. Tobias. He zipped swiftly overhead and landed on a low branch. He was carrying something in his beak. Hi, Tobias, I said. Do you have it? Yes. And do you know how hard it is to fly around with a live, squirming mouse in my beak? Drop it down on me, I said. You are a twisted, devious human being, Marco, Tobias said. Axe, if you have any sense, you won't get involved in this. Tobias, I am suffering. I have small, itching bumps on parts of my body. Marco has agreed to help me if I will help him. He has a rare medicine that will help. Marco, you're blackmailing Axe with flea powder? Axe, my friend, you just picked up a couple of fleas. It's normal in the woods. Don't let Marco jerk you. Just give me the mouse and stop acting like a parent, I interrupted. I'm not blackmailing anyone. I'll bring Axe the flea powder. Jeez, the suspicion around here. Tobias dropped the mouse and I caught it with one hand. It squirmed and I almost dropped it. But as I began to acquire it, it calmed down. See, if you want to morph an animal, you have to acquire it first. You have to make contact. Then you sort of focus on it, concentrate on it. The animal goes into a trance, and meanwhile, the animal's DNA is being absorbed. Don't ask me how it works. It's some weird Andalite biotechnology. I just know it works. When I was done acquiring the mouse, I handed it to Axe. He had to use both hands to hold it. Andalite arms are kind of puny. Of course, they also have 4 legs, and those are pretty strong. I mean, Axe can haul when he wants to. I bet he could do 40 miles an hour. Then there's that tail. The tail is the reason Andalites will never be considered truly cute. I've seen Axe use his tail on full-grown Hork-Bajir warriors. And fast? Man, you don't even see it move. It's like whap! And all of a sudden, a Hork-Bajir only has 1 arm. I believe Axe could chop down a tree with that tail if he felt like it. Marco, you know Jake will roast you alive behind this, Tobias said. Morphing for personal reasons? Hey, Jake was invited to the party, alright? He'll be soaking up the rays at poolside. He'll be having a good time. Meanwhile, I, his best friend, was not even invited. Jake is big on justice. I ask you, is this justice? No, clearly not. Marco, Jake says the last time you were invited to one of Darlene's pool parties, you floated a Baby Ruth bar in the pool and told everyone it was, maybe that's why you weren't invited. I was like 6 years old, I protested. I didn't know any better. Besides, it was funny. Marco, you were not 6. You were 10. Whatever, who remembers this stuff? Darlene does. I ignored Tobias. Are you done acquiring the mouse? I asked Axe. If so, give him back to Tobias for lunch. I've eaten, thanks, Tobias said. But you shouldn't laugh. You want to go play mouse? You better remember something. There are a lot of predators who enjoy eating mice. It's a dangerous world out there. And who would know that better than you, Mr. Predator? Tobias laughed. Even we predators get ours sometimes. I saw a bald eagle get mobbed by a bunch of jays this morning. Slammed into a tree. I guess the eagle was going after their nest. There won't be any eagles at the party, I said. The bird world is your problem, dude. I have a party to attend. Darlene likes him, Axe said, but she doesn't like him. That's pretty much how everyone feels about Marco, Tobias said with a laugh.